Hi there, Chris here, another quick tip for you all. In this video we are going to talk about paint consistencies in the airbrush as far as how we're mixing it and how we go about when we are doing single jobs and doing multiple jobs, for example, color mixture across a whole squad or even a whole company or army of guys. We got anywhere from 5 to 100 models to do, but we want to have that special blend of colors. So I have an assortment here of colors. I have Citadel Air, I have Scale 75, I have MIG Ammo, and I have Golden. And of course these aren't the only airbrush colors around. You have Vallejo Air, and of course the Citadel colors are the Citadel Air, but I mean regular Citadel colors and regular Vallejo will go through the airbrush. You just got to thin them out just a little bit, but of course all of these paints are acrylic paints. So on to the topic of mixtures. Now you will see in many videos where I'll throw in a mixture of color into the airbrush, and then if I want to go up like another level, for example, I'll take the orange, I'll throw it into the airbrush, I'll do a little bit of highlighting, and then of course I'll take a little bit of yellow, throw it in, and call it a 1-to-1 ratio or 1-to-2 ratio, depending upon what I remember I threw in versus how much I figure I've sprayed out. Now, of course, this is the kind of stuff that comes with a bit of practice, experience, and consistency. And really, it is a bit of a challenging thing. There is no easy way to set this kind of thing up, especially when you're a beginner or you're new to this aspect of the hobby. And really, there's only a few things that I can recommend as far as maintaining consistency when doing color mixtures is when you're drawing from, say, for example, little bottles like this. I often will use one of these little glass eyedroppers. Now, I use glass because I can clean it properly and reuse it versus the plastic pipettes that tend to deteriorate, especially at the little squishy end. They tend to deteriorate, and they basically have a very short lifespan, whereas these ones here got a nice rubber end to them and they connect onto a nice glass tube. And if need be, I can just simply use a little bit of Windex and get this thing clean again, and not worry about cross-contamination or getting little chunks of dried paint into my work areas or anything of that nature. And so really, this is definitely something I would recommend for everybody out there who is using especially dropper type paints. This goes for Citadel Air, Citadel colors, Tamiya, Humbrol, anybody who does this pot style container versus dropper style like Scale 75 or MIG Ammo or Citadel Air, or even these golden colors. These colors basically almost have like a kitchen top or a ketchup top type opener. It's a bit like old style glues and everything like that. It's just like you screw it open, put a couple drops in, screw it closed. You don't even have to worry about taking the cap off. And of course you can easily see where paint's going to build up. So if you keep that tip pretty much clean, you won't have any trouble. You can see like I use the red quite a bit because I have red Eldar Army, and I keep that fairly clear of debris. Again, going back to the color mixtures, as long as you're consistent, like if I take a little dollop of paint into the well of this and I go say just past the little bulbous point of the glass and squeeze that in, I know how far usually that gets me inside the well here. And then I begin spraying, and I only spray for a couple seconds, for example, and then I take a little bit of this and take an equal or just slightly less measure of it, because again, I rinse these things between things so that I'm not cross-contaminating. And so I take a slightly less amount. I know I'm approximately like a 1-to-1. If I take a little bit more, then I know it's approximately like a 2-to-1. And so something like this definitely helps you in maintaining consistency across your sprays. Now that is, of course, if you are working on models and you are mixing between kind of things. Now, if you are going to be handling a large project, well, that's not terribly efficient to go about it in that fashion, right? The best way to go about it is simply get yourself some of these little plastic containers that have, pretty much a little dropper style lid on them, and they have their own little caps and everything like that, and you can fill these up and create a mixture of your own design and you know, you're off to the races, as it were. I mean, one of these little containers is going to take a whole lot of paint. And you know, if you have a custom mixture that you really like, definitely save it into one of your bottles. Even if you mix it in the brush and you still have a lot of excess in the cup, you can always pour it off into one of these little containers, and that way you preserve that color mixture. And of course, because you probably added thinner to it and you don't really want to dump it back into the container, especially because I run into this example a few times where I'll take this color paint, Citadel Air, and I'll use, say, Golden's airbrush thinner, and I'll thin it with Golden's acrylic thinner. And I don't really want to put it back in here because I'm not 100% sure on what kind of separation I'm going to get if this bottle sits here for a while. So I will, you know, eventually just kind of dump it off, or, you know, I mean, it ends up getting kind of wasted anyway, because normally I don't bother preserving my color mixtures because, you know, I mean, I go through so many different models and paint jobs and things of that nature, and, you know, I'm not doing large scale projects. And so I really don't worry about these kind of things. But if you're a commissioned painter, or you just have a large paint job to get done, definitely find yourself some of these. These things you can find all over the internet. Fleabay, for example, and you can find them pennies on the dollar per bottle. And it's going to save you a lot of heartache and a lot of misery. And of course, you can also just buy these just to transfer these colors. I know a lot of people take the regular Citadel colors and transfer them to these dropper style bottles as well, and that's perfectly fine as well. So I mean, again, many options. These things are pennies on the dollar. It's going to save you a lot of heartache and a headache, and possibly falling into a stroke and coma and just ruining everything. But anyway, that hopefully is clear enough for when we're mixing and mixing in the airbrush, and of course getting large scale jobs. Definitely would recommend staying with these little plastic bottles and mixing your colors. I think I was just using these colors, for example. Doesn't have to be these colors. And of course you can even mix, like, you know, cross lines as well. But either way, definitely find yourself some of these bottles if you're doing large scale jobs and you're worried about your color mixtures and maintaining consistency across your army. Definitely, these are the things you're going to want. Well, I hope you found that quick tip useful and informative. You can watch another quick tip today on MiniWarGaming.com's Vault. Just click on the link in the video description below to watch it right now. If you're not already a Vault member, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial. Be sure to sign up for the Silver membership, and that will give you instant access to over 1,000 painting tutorials already in our Vault. And again, thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing, and happy wargaming.